Okay, recap for the 21st of January 2026. Right, so today's a messy day. Why? It's a Tuesday after a bank holiday Monday with no news, right? This is the type of days that I have my rules. I don't trade, but if something's obvious or something, I can take a scalp or something, right? So let's just show what happened today, my thought process, and what are the expectations, right? So coming out to the day, right? Here's like the 9:27:28 candle, just right before market open, right? This is where my analysis should be done, right? What I'm expecting, what should have happened, blah blah blah, right? So main thing is what we've done in Asia and London prior to the opening of 9:30, right? So if we zoom out slightly, we can see that this is AM low from yesterday, from Monday, which was taken out in London, and then London goes to this low. If we go to the PD arrays on the higher time frame, remember this is the weekly wick that's marked out in 8th, we can see that we went to the 0.375 of it, right, and then started going higher in London, right? So market structure wise, we have made an original consolidation, lower sell, first stage accumulation, second stage, and then smart money reversal, and then it looks like it's a market maker buy model to come back and take the original consolidation highs. So initially I'm bullish, especially that we stopped at the 0.375. I'm initially bullish. However, I'm not that bullish. And why? Because if we're really going to be bullish heading to the large new weekly opening gap that we have left from yesterday, right, this large new weekly opening gap and the highs above, I wouldn't expect us to take this low, right? Because this low has done few things, right? This low already took that liquidity that we were talking about yesterday, and on top of that, making an SMT with ES, right? So if we're looking at the liquidity that we're taking out here yesterday with NQ and then started heading higher, we should not be coming back to take it lower, coming back lower again, especially that we made ES, SMT with ES right here. If we can show it, right? So with ES, look at 2nd of January. On Monday, we made a clear SMT right here, but now we've broken that SMT by taking that low again now on Tuesday. So there's nothing for me to be that bullish, right? On top of that, on the daily, I'm going to explain that one later, I wanted us to stop anywhere on or above that midpoint of that weekly wick, right? If we're really bullish, today we should have visited this, right? This big new weekly opening gap. The fact that we haven't been able to visit it on Monday and Tuesday can be can foreshadow that we are very weak, right? Like we are very weak. This is a very large drawn liquidity, and the fact that we're not able to reach it shows that the market might be very weak, right? We're still waiting for tomorrow to confirm this whole thing, right? Again, we're working on probabilities. And if it's likely to be that weak, right? Another example for this to show, it's not something saying that it's that weak, it's not going to come back visit this, but no, they might keep engineering and they start sending this lower, but they're still engineering the highs for a later date, right? It doesn't have to be now, it doesn't have to be this week, it doesn't have to be next week, it can be next month, whatever, right? So in terms of showing this, right, that's something that makes sense. So let's go on the daily, right? Let's just get rid of all of this for now, right? Remember when we had the same thing here? Once we opened with this large new weekly opening gap, and then we started sending higher, higher, higher. Yes, we ended up visiting it, but it doesn't mean that we have to visit in the first 2 days. See what I'm saying? With that bullish, and then we ended up going all the way to all-time high and close here on Friday, right? So from this bullish week, we could also have the same thing, bearish week, and seek this low, right? Revisiting this volume imbalance. So currently, I'm bearish on the current reason that we closed below the 0.5, right? If we didn't close below it, then again it's questionable. However, that we closed below today, and if we don't have any significant move up tomorrow to invalidate this, I'm more inclined to be bearish and then treat this whole area as a breaker block on this low here. So I'm just gonna watch what price does tomorrow, and if it wants to continue on this bearish stance for then. Anyway, let's go back to what actually happened today rather than what I'm expecting for the week, because that's what's important, right? Regardless of we're bearish or bullish or whatever, we still have the liquidity on the high side, right? And because it's a market maker buy model, we're expecting to go higher unless market opens and then it just starts dropping, right? Then that invalidates everything. Why? Because first of all, we've gone to the 50% right there. However, we're going to the 50% without taking liquidity. So the main thing is we're going to go to take buy side liquidity here, or we're going to take the initial liquidity and then drop. So it all depends on what the market does. Again, same thing is if we're going to go up, we already went to the 50%, but we haven't taken liquidity, right? Because the time for it is not there yet. So once now we're near 9:30, if we sweep this low and then start going higher, then I'm very confident of us taking that high, right? So you see, there's a lot of ifs and just treat it as an algorithm. Anyway, let's see what happens on market open. Now that we understand where our liquidity is, I don't expect this low taken out, but I would love this low to be taken out, and then showing us some signs that we want to go to visit 1, 2, 3, 4 highs up top, right? I'm content with 2 or 3 highs, and anywhere around the new daily opening gap, midnight open. That'd be like what I'd like to trade if I'm trading today, right? So let's just zoom in, right? We know what this low is, the 0.375 of the weekly wick right here, right? So we don't expect that low to be taken unless the market opens and just invalidates everything, right? So let's zoom back in and let's play what the market has done. So market initially opens and just zooms straight to the buy side liquidity, which is not what I want to see. I want us to take this low. Why? Because with this low, there's a lot of relative equal lows from like prior. Let's call this area like London lunch or something like that, right? Because London here at 5 technically for me ended, right? This area is too smooth, right? Especially that this low when we went to the 0.5, we have not taken these lows. So it comes a bit questionable. Are we going to come back to it later? That's my initial thought. Are we going to go up to come back down? That's just genuinely my initial thought by us not taking this low, right? Again, there's no trade for me. It's 9:30. I would at least wait for 9:40, right? Me personally. So, again, by the time that we hit 9:40, right there, we've already taken 2 buy side liquidity. So, right now I'm not interested. Just for the fact that we already opened and went up to both buy side liquidity that I'm aiming for, I'm not interested. So now my main thing is, if we're gonna go head up there higher, right, really fast, are we gonna come back down lower to take all these relative equal lows that we're making and clearly engineering, right? So still watching. We come down, we come up, and then we start heading into consolidation, right? This is just typical for no news Tuesday, right? I think at this point right here, I closed the chart and then just done something for an hour. I said I'll come back at like around 10:30 and see what's going on, right? So right now at 10:08, so let's just skip to 10:30. Mm-mm. All right, we're getting close to 10:30, and we're getting close to midnight open. So as you can see, the market opened, it shot up to the liquidity, and then start consolidating for basically an hour, right? Right now we're at 10:30, and we already reached what I was expecting for today. But is there anything to take a trade on? For me personally, absolutely not. Okay. But then I see as we stall and make relative equal highs with lunch liquidity. Lunch liquidity, even though I'm cutting through candles, right? Yes, this liquidity was here from last night, from yesterday. Yes, it's taken, but for me, it's not taken because it would show on regular trading hours. The only reason that there's no price for regular trading hours is because Monday yesterday was a bank holiday, and you can see that Monday's price is not showing. We technically open on Tuesday, but that reference point is still there, right? So yes, the liquidity is coming through candles, but now there could be a trade. Okay, so if we're just looking at price initially, and now we're looking at PD arrays to enter from this leg up, right? Because I don't expect us to come down to these lows yet before taking the liquidity here, especially that we made it relatively equal, making it very, very obvious, right? So I'm expecting at least us to go to midpoint of this range, that run up, which is around here, and then I'm looking for any PD array, any sweep or anything. So I'm looking at this low as a minor sell side, and then I'm looking at what PD array do we have. The obvious PD array to me is the first presented fair value gap right there. And if we're cutting through the candles, we can see it's right here, right? And on top of that, on the hourly, is because on the 4 hour there's nothing that I could find that's obvious for us to come down. On the hourly, I have this order block, right? Order block, which also lines up with this inverse fair value gap, right? You see this inverse fair value gap right there? If we're gonna offer a low risk buy, right? So that to me is where I would enter. Okay, but I also want to see confirmations more extra. Why? Because it's a no, again, no news Tuesday after a bank holiday. It's just very improbable. Just look at price action. Is this something that you want to be in? No. There's also there's other days, there's other times, whatever you can enter, right? It doesn't have to be today, but that's my general bias right there. So I would want us to see what happened actually on the hourly. I mean, that's when we went to this low, right? So that's why I'm marking it from this low. Like I'm marking the midpoint from this low because we displaced from the order block. The other order blocks that, or any PDAs that I'm looking for, is this 15-minute order block, right? And then I'm just gonna mark both the end of it and the mean threshold, which is just the midpoint of it really, and that would be here. And then I'm looking at the star of it, right? The star of it is like at one. Okay, so now I have a general area where I'm expecting price, right, to go up from, right? On top of that, we have a 15-minute fair value gap. So all the confluences to go up again is here because we just made the relative equal highs, and again we still have this to complete the market maker buy model. So there is kind of an obvious trade, right? So let's just forget about the buy side liquidity here, right? So we're looking at price to go hit this, but mainly take the liquidity, but I don't want it to close below the mean threshold, and it's best if it offers the first presented fair value gap, as I said, right here. Okay, so if we play it, we can see that price comes back down, takes the liquidity, and then hits the first presented fair value gap, right? Now I'm like, okay, you know what? There is a trade. There is a trade here. But I need just a slight confirmation, which is us taking over this midpoint of the wick, right? Here, activating this technically as an order block, this series of 3 down close candles. And I know on the lower time frame there's going to be a gap in there, right? So I'll go on the 15-second. I'll mark this fair value gap, right, with a volume imbalance, which again lines up with the original area of that order block. And then I'll wait, right, respecting it, boom, right there. That candle closes, and then my limit order's right there, and it doesn't hit it. And as you can see, we just spike up, right? So for me, that's the trade that's missed, right? And I mark this inversion fair value gap as well, just as a mental entry, right? I don't care about price here. I only like to enter down here, or I'm not in the trade. I do not care. This is too close to my target. Okay, so price left. I said this is very questionable, the fact that it didn't offer this. So if it was gonna come down right here, right then, and then support again, and then go up using order blocks rather than fair value gaps for this run up, then I might be interested. But then I'm seeing it respects the inverse, and then it keeps going higher, I believe. See, and it takes the liquidity. Now I'm like, okay, for me, I'm kind of done, content for, as what I've seen. Like, okay, it didn't offer me the entry, whatever happens, right? For me, right now, I'm content for buy side wise, right? For us to go higher. Now I'm looking for a price to go lower, right? Any normal day, I would take this as an inverse, right? Like this gap, and just seek the lows, right? It didn't give me the longs. I'm going for the shorts, right? Right here I would enter and then short. But again, I couldn't get myself to press the button. Why? Because then that's technically breaking my rules for me entering on this day. And also I don't like the delivery on this day in general. So if the delivery was nice, I wouldn't mind entering on lower MNQ sizes or whatever. But again, look at what price does, right? It offers the entry, and then goes exactly to where it shoulda rebounded from, right? That little 15-second gap, that way shoulda offered the low risk buy, because this is technically a market maker buy model, very very fractally, right? Under 1 minute, it shoulda offered this, then went here, and then completed it by taking this high, and on the high time frame, that high, right? As you can see, price just starts consolidating basically if you're just looking at a long time frame. The fact that it comes back all the way up again to take that liquidity, right, but doesn't take this liquidity, making relative equal highs, I'm like, alright, I'm done, right? I'm just done. I do believe that I took the long here, right, just to here, just can't remember why. I remember, yeah, I was just testing the account. Yeah, I bought a new account, I think. Let me just double check if I took it. I actually don't remember properly. It was literally a few second trade just to check, right? Where is it? I believe I took the long here just to here, right, and just closed it, right? If I remember on that count, because this is a replay. I just took it from here to here. It was like $200, just whatever, right? Just because I know it's gonna go up, and I'm like, bro, I've been waiting. Let me just take whatever and just get out. But technically, to me, that's not a trade. It's just whatever. I'm just following what the market is doing, knowing that again, we might not take that high, because if we're gonna come down, we should have might as well took that high and swept it, or went a bit higher, made it kind of more relative equal highs, and then made this inverse, blah blah blah. Again, just look at this market. If you zoom in out, look at all this consolidation just to go high. Yes, we're visiting the PD arrays, yes, blah blah blah. However, we're not offering the entries, the proper entries that I'm expecting. We're consolidating for way too long. It's just garbage. And eventually, right? Eventually, after coming back down again and then coming higher again and then coming back down again, we visit all the liquidity that expected us to come back down in the PM and lunch session, right? Is all that due to the fact that here on market open we did not take this low, right? So yes, we're gonna go higher, but we're gonna go higher to go lower. And the fact that we were already past 1050 to go lower here, it was just the probabilities of anything happening is just very low, right? Yes, I can expect where the market is going, but can I find an accurate entry? Could I find an accurate stop loss? Could I find a blah blah blah? No. So there was no point of me to trade, right? And that's why I just didn't trade it basically today. Yes, I can offer. Yes, these entries were here. Yes, like I called it, the first presented fair value gap. It come and take this liquidity, blah blah blah. But again, it could have went up here again and then just dismantle this whole run up, and this was enough, right? The only trade was this low, but look, when did it come back to it after it went all the way up there? To me, that's just not probable. It should have offered it right here, and that's why this market to me is still it's still improbable. I'm like, my risk and whatever is just most likely going to be in February when I'm going to enter properly, right? And the fact that we come back all the way down and close lower, I'm pretty. Do we take the London low? Again, my main lows were here, right? These lows, right? And then we'll end up taking it. So it's just like I'm saying, it's just improbable. It's improbable. Could you find a trade today? Like I outlined, yes, you could find a trade, sweeps, whatever. It's there, right? If you're trying to catch like 50% of the range and then go up, but to me, it's just improbable. I would not be sitting in all this consolidation. I would probably get stopped out a lot. All these stuff, like, why would I bother, right? So Wednesday, if price action is not normal, if it's just moving weird again, then I'm not interested. And let's just remove all of this because it's no point now, right? Let's remove all of this. Then market closes on the low, right? This is what I was saying yesterday. The market, if we're bullish, we should not be closing anywhere down here. We should come down and take this low and then headed up higher, and actually went up and took our market maker buy model. Our market maker buy model failing just shows that we're just engineering liquidity and we're still not interested in this new weekly opening gap and higher for now. That's why currently I'm bearish. And then on the higher time frame, I'm gonna look for something on the 4 hour for tomorrow's price action. We have these gaps. Okay. Currently, there's just nothing clear. That's all I'm saying. Currently, there is nothing clear. We're displacing and we're leaving gaps open, right? Like this is an institution order flow entry drill into this 4 hour CB, right? Again, we visited today. It just shows very, very bearish price action at the current moment. So my main eye is looking for this low to be taken as sell side liquidity, and from there we can see if we have any meaningful displacement or we're going to change this market structure to be bullish. But the current market structure is bearish / consolidation. Again, why? Because we're closing below this midpoint on the weekly. Anyway, that's the market recap. I'm pretty sure I outlined everything that needs to be outlined. It's a very challenging day. and that's why I have it written on my notes. For the love of God, skip the Tuesday with no news after a bank holiday, because this is exactly how price action is gonna look. If I'm bullish today, it was garbage. If I'm bearish today, I would have had to wait all the way till PM session, and it was still garbage. So yeah, that's the market recap. Peace out.